welcome back. All eyes on the White House, where President Donald Trump is gearing up to roll out a fresh new set of tariffs tomorrow. It will come in the form of reciprocal tariffs. Those are tariffs that will match the duties that other countries charge on U.S. products. That's about all we know right now. The White House has remained quiet on the specific details, like just how many countries will be affected. But yesterday, the president had this to say about what's to come. Let's listen.
They're reciprocal. So whatever they charge us, we charge them, but we're being nicer than they were. We have a lot of countries, friend and foe. I always say friend and foe, but the friend in many cases is worse than the foe. They took advantage of us, and we are going to be very nice by comparison to what they were. The numbers will be lower than what they've been charging us, and in some cases maybe substantially lower, but we sort of have a world obligation perhaps. But we're going to be very nice. Relatively speaking, we're going to be very kind.
And also set to go into effect tomorrow, 25% auto tariffs that could increase the price of a new car by $5,000 to $10,000. On that note, CBS News senior White House reporter Jennifer Jacobs, she's tracking all of this for us, and she joins us now. Jennifer, good to see you today. Are we learning anything else about what's to come tomorrow? Because it seems even those in the Trump administration don't exactly know the details about these tariffs.
Well, I think President Trump has a plan in his head, and it will be unveiled tomorrow. We have been trying to figure out what those plans are early so we can let you know, Mugo. But what I can tell you so far is that there are some very large trading partners to the United States that do charge more tariffs on goods that they import from the United States than the United States charges on their goods. And so the White House's strategy here is to try to level the playing field a little bit, to rejigger global trade so that it's more to an advantage for the United States. The president has said he is going to charge these tariffs pretty widely on any country that charges a higher tariff on the United States' goods, but he is saying that he's going to be more generous in some cases than they are on the United States. So it does sound like the president has made up his mind. There has been some finagling behind the scenes from some corners trying to figure out what the tariffs are and maybe negotiate exemptions, but those exemptions are not coming.
And Jennifer, how are countries and also companies reacting to these plans?
You've had some countries who are already saying, our attitude is we're going to do retaliatory tariffs. If the United States increases, we're going to increase. And that includes Canada, leaders in Canada, for example, and the European Union. But you've had other countries, including Vietnam and India, who have said, listen, we're open to doing at least some concessions. Vietnam, for example, said we might be willing to talk about lowering our tariffs on liquefied natural gas and cars and some of the other things that have been bothering the United States. India also reportedly is willing to negotiate, and President Trump mentioned something about that yesterday. So some countries are willing to negotiate, which is what the White House has been hoping for.
And Jennifer, I have to ask you about this because we've seen last-minute rollbacks when it comes to tariffs before. So are we likely to see that again here?
The signals that I'm getting from my administration sources are that these tariffs tomorrow are very real. They do intend for them to stick. It's not some sort of April Fool's edition. The president even said something about that. Like, he didn't want to announce these tariffs on April Fool's Day because he didn't want anyone to be misled. These tariffs are going to stay in place. And it sounds like the idea here is to give the United States some leverage as it negotiates for new trade deals and for lower tariffs.
Okay, CBS News senior White House reporter Jennifer Jacobs, thank you so much for your time today. A live look at how the market is reacting today ahead of that new round of tariffs set to roll out tomorrow. Tariff uncertainty continues to rattle Wall Street, so much so that just yesterday, 2 out of 3 major U.S. stock indexes had their worst quarter since 2022. And back then, the reason for that was because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Now, just yesterday, CBS News' very own Nancy Cortez asked White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt about the global stock markets, and here's what she had to say. Listen.
And has the global stock market sell-off caused the White House to rethink any of these plans?
The president has always said that the stock market is a snapshot of a moment in time, and he's doing what's best for Main Street, and Wall Street will work out just fine in this administration, just like they did in their first term.
All right, let's bring in CBS News Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady. And Kelly, will the uncertainty around these tariffs continue to drag down global markets, you think?
So I think that's a safe bet, especially if it continues to be such a back and forth like we've seen in the past couple of months. So markets hate uncertainty, Mugo, and we have seen the sort of back and forth really make it very difficult for investors to determine what sectors to invest in. It's made it really difficult for companies to determine what to do, what countries to source from. You know, do they move their production to the U.S.? So yes, I think to some extent we are going to see some of that turmoil continue. But what I will highlight is we just finished the first quarter of the year, and I went back and I looked at some of the biggest highs and lows that we had, sort of single day losses in terms of the markets, and they were never on days where there were tariff announcements. In fact, it was when we saw data that was unexpected, like consumer confidence plummeting, inflation coming in higher than expected. So as we see the impacts of these tariff announcements start to make their way through the economic data, that, Mugo, is what I think is going to impact the markets the most. Not necessarily the announcements, the back and forth, but are these tariffs impacting consumers and businesses in the way that many economists fear they will? That, I think, is what will move the markets most.
And on that note, you mentioned inflation, so let's talk about that because Goldman Sachs is already sounding off about inflation. What are they saying?
So let's talk about inflation. They basically did an analysis. They reported over the weekend. I think we might have a chart that we can pull up on this. But they modeled out their expectations for inflation with no tariffs. And what they predicted is that we would find our way to the Federal Reserve's 2% target by the end of this year. Then they modeled with tariffs, sort of with the current thinking on tariffs, which, of course, as we just said, is evolving. And they expect inflation to tick up and reach 3.5% and then hover there for at least a year. So that's kind of the concern that they have with inflation. And of course, then you sort of play that out. What does that mean? You start to see consumers potentially pulling back because they're already worried about higher prices. And then you play that out and they start to spend less. And that sort of leads to a potential slowdown in economic growth, which is something that Goldman also predicted.
And Kelly, 25% auto tariffs also kick in tomorrow. You've talked to auto executives about this. What are they telling you? What are they saying the impact is going to be on them?
Higher prices. So I was actually at an auto dealership yesterday, and I spoke to him. I looked around at the cars on the lot, and I said, which ones of these are going to go up? And he said all of them, because even if they are assembled in the U.S., so many of the key parts come from other places like Canada, Mexico, and China. So there are very few cars, if you will, that are assembled even in America that are immune to these tariffs. Now, what we are also likely going to see from executives that I've been talking to is manufacturing move to the United States, but that takes time, that takes investment. And I think what I'm hearing from a lot of people is just there's so much uncertainty of how long these things will last, even though the president has said, you know, they are here to stay, that businesses are a little bit in that paralysis phase of what do they do, but they are expecting a pullback from consumers if prices are going to be higher on an auto, which is more in that nice to have versus a need to have when it comes to food and shelter, Mugo.
Right. Just a lot of uncertainty and confusion. Thank you for helping us make sense of all of it. Kelly O'Grady, thanks for joining us on the stream today.